Welcome to worshiptutorials.com. In this video, because you already clicked on it, you already know, but we're teaching you King of Kings by Hillsong. As always, everything I'm going to teach you is within shapes. I honestly should just not say it and let you finish it in the comments by now, in the comment section, because I say it every time. Everything is way easier if you're intentional about putting in a shape or a scale. So as we're going through this, I'm going to show you exactly and tell you exactly what we're utilizing to play that part and how you can apply it for this song specifically. Today, we're using this beautiful, I think they call it a dark cherry. It's got a little bit of a sparkle in the right light. Duo Jet. It's a Player's Edition Duo Jet DS, which means it's got Dynasonics. They're like chimey, like Filtertrons, but they're more like a single coil. It's really cool. Really, really like how it sounds. And we're plugged into the Helix, and we're using the patch that we have available for this song. We did do a playthrough. If you think if you prefer to learn that way, you can watch that video, and the patch is in the description here and there. But we'll be using that. I'll be using different effects just because you don't need all of them to get the effect right now. But we're going to start with the main thing, the riff. The riff is played two different ways in this song. It's played octaves and kind of a little more low key, and then it's played just like as a lead part as well. So we'll cover both in one section here, and we'll move on from there. So the riff starts on an A and goes to a 1, the D, and back to a 1. And for reference, we're playing the key of D for this song. So an octave. What we are going to do to get this octave is just play an A on the E string, which is 5th fret, and then an A on the D string, which is 7th fret. So if you are not aware, anytime you do that same spacing, you're going to get octaves. So 2 Ds right there, 2 E's right there, 2 G's right here, 2 F sharps right here. So I would highly suggest, if you haven't already, learning your E and A strings at least, because this will make things a lot easier when you're playing octaves. So we'll start there and hop to the D, which is starting on, you could go up here if you really want to, on the 10th fret of the E string, but it's a little easier because we're hopping. But we're going to need to slide up even higher. So this D right here, the 2 Ds, on the A string on the 5th fret and on the G string on the 7th fret. So we're going to go to the E and just walk it up, and then skip the E back to the D. We're going to go 7, keeping that same spacing, up to the 9th, to the 10th, back down to the 9th, back down to the 5th. So here it is all together. Just like that. Now, what I was doing in the video, I wanted a little less attack. I wanted to feel really good. I wanted to feel kind of soft, but obviously still wanted to be there. So we have some verb on, and we have an 8th note delay. So this tempo is 68. You're basically hitting 8th notes as well, and I just use my thumb like this. We really liked how that sounded. It wasn't in the way, but it gave it a little bit more. Sometimes delay and reverb isn't necessarily about an effect. It's more about giving you a little bit more of what you're playing. You can't really get more out of your thumb doing just that little bit there, and so the delay and reverb helps carry it and fill it in and fill in some space. That's the first time you hit that riff. You do it a couple times. If you're going to play it just like the track, you'll notice that if you actually look on the guitar tracks for the song, there isn't much guitar until the second turn. It starts with the turn. It starts with that riff. You don't come into the second one. You sit out for that first chorus, and you actually sit out during that second verse. And then when you come back in with this riff, you are going to be playing it again, but you want a little more something to it. So what we did, and what we figured that Droff was doing, assuming it was him playing, we're pretty sure it was him, we assumed that he tapped in his tempo double. So instead of 68, it's 136. Math. 136. And he used a dotted 8th delay and an 8th delay. Or a dotted 8th delay and a quarter delay. But because he tapped it in double, you're going to get this. So what we did was we included an 8th delay and a 16th note, dotted 16th note delay. Instead of having to tap it in faster. Maybe it'd be a little more confusing if you like realized that the song was at 68, but for whatever reason you saw our patch was at 136. Same idea. We just made the subdivision. So you're gonna play the same thing. This time we added a little dirt, and because of the fact that we have dotted 16th note delay, what we have is a little more galloping. Sounds really nice. So you're gonna do that. So those two ways already to play the riff. I said there's only two, but there's a handful of different ways. The other way you could play the riff is actually just playing it as like a lead line, not playing octaves. So you're gonna do the same thing that you were doing. Now, what may help you is the notes that I'm playing within the B minor pentatonic shape. What may help you is you realize that I'm playing the notes that you played in these octaves, but I'm playing them single. Maybe you'd prefer to play the same exact thing but just play one string. You can do that. But I'm going to show you how I did it just one note. Again, if you keep it in a shape, it's going to make everything so much easier because let's say, actually for us for Christmas, we're doing this song, but we're doing it in C. I don't have to learn the song again. I just shifted everything I was playing down a whole step because I'm playing it in pentatonic. We're going to start on the D and the G string, both on the 7th fret. So, up to the 9th, 11th, 12th, back to the 11th, back to the 7th. That's the riff. So what we'll do is a little drive. And if you're going to use the same sound that we use, it's dotted 16th note and the 8th note. So that is basically how you would play that riff. 3 different ways. I had said 2. It's 3 really, depending on the effects you're using and the way you're playing it. But it's 2 different ways to play it. You just play them differently with different amounts of attitude, or maybe you got different personnel on stage that week and you want to choose one method over the other. Those are what the riffs sound like in the song. So we move on to the chorus. The chorus, the first time through, actually isn't any playing. If you'd like to do some swells, you need to fill it in. It's hard. It's hard, and the playthrough even, it was hard for me. We were just having fun in our playthrough. But on stage on a Sunday, I understand it's hard to like not play. Not because you think you need to play all the time, but sometimes you just feel like it's empty, you need to do something. I would say fight through it. Just sit there. Worship. Lead. Play your instrument by not playing your instrument. The notes you don't play are just as important as the notes you do play. So, but if you really need something, your worship leader may want something, your music director may want something, maybe it doesn't feel as good in your room to sit back and do nothing. Do some swells, maybe keep it light because you don't want to play to the point where you got nowhere else to build from. So that's just a practical thing. That's not even about the song necessarily. But the first time we get to the chorus and we're playing, we're using the back half, the top half rather, of a D bar chord, an A bar chord shape, but the D bar chord. So here's that bar chord, right? We all know this. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna just play this part with this finger. So you're gonna fret the 7th fret on the D, the G, and the B. And then you're going to use your pinky to fret the 10th fret on the E string. Just like that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to, between that shape and like a suspended. And then at one point we're going to slide up when we get to the 5, the A chord, we're going to slide up here. You could do it here, but it's not as easy when your fingers are already right here. It's not as quick to stack like this. There's no quick way to do it. I prefer, whatever works for you, the same notes. I come up here because I can keep my finger and I can just slide back down. So, like this. That's the chorus. Now, again, This is absolutely a method you can use at any point in time. What we're doing, you could stay here depending on the sound you're going for. In this particular part, you hear the guitar moves up to really follow that 5 chord and the suspended thing that's happening. But you could stay here a lot. This is a method you could use instead. And I would say you should use instead of 2 electrics both playing full on rhythm. But you don't want to use big chords until you really mean to, but in this case, this is actually used more for a part, like a intentional picked out arpeggiated kind of part that you hear in the track. It's string skipping a little bit, which makes it a little tough, but the gist of it is there if you just sit here. Real easy. We're using an 8th note delay, and we're using the king of tone that is in the Helix. It's the heir apparent. It's like the prince of tone. It's just one side. We're using that just to give it a little bit of grit because you need it. So after you play that, you do end up playing a bigger riff. That's when you may want to use any of those variations of the lead parts, the turn riff. You may want to do that just to carry some energy. I would strongly suggest, as you're trying to get used to playing a song, whether you're one of 2 guitars or you're the only guitar, until you get really comfortable with it, maybe like map out the song and write it out on paper so you can visually see what the song is supposed to sound and feel like. Not specific as in like what part you're playing, but the dynamics you need to bring, and you can identify what makes the most sense for these lead parts. Because you could do the octave thing the whole time. If you got another guitar, maybe it sounds great. You could do just that lead thing just by itself, one note instead of doing the octaves. That could sound good. But in this case, we're building through, and it's not the bridge, but we're calling it the bridge because there's an alternate chord progression. We want to make sure, especially on our patch, we want to make sure it feels really good. And it makes sense as you're playing it. So we call this part the bridge build. When the band comes in, you are playing an alternate chord progression this time. So typically your chord progression is like a D over F sharp, G, A, D. But in this instance, that's what kind of makes it feel like it's a bridge is the fact that we don't hit the D over F sharp. We actually play a B minor to the G, to the A, to the D. So what you're going to do, and I do this a lot. I love playing the key of D. I love these voicings. You're basically only hitting the notes that are on the E string and the G string. So they're sixths, I believe. You're only playing 2 notes at a time, and 2 strings at a time, which only gives you 2 notes. And it sounds really good. I utilize this a lot for ambient parts or like real laid back parts anyways. But this, I actually am pretty certain this is what's happening anyways. Your B minor is going to be really easy. Your B minor shape is going to be the 7th fret, both fingers. So I stack it like this because of how I want to slide down. So I stack using my 3rd and 4th finger. 7th fret on the E string on the G string. Basically what you're doing is you're muting, by default, you're muting that A string, and that D is going to be ringing out, and you're fretting the G, so you want that. The next part, after you hit that B minor, you're going to use the same shape to play G, A, and D. You're on the 3rd fret on the E string and on the 4th fret on the G string. You're going to slide up 2 frets, so 5th fret on the E and 6th fret on the G. And then you're going to slide all the way up to the 10th fret on the E and the 11th on the G. So together it sounds like this. I just love how those sound. So anytime I'm playing the key of D, I'm going to use those a lot. I may use them like for a big part. But I also like to utilize them for builds. They feel really good for builds because you're not playing a full-on chord, but it's bigger than an octave, it's bigger than a single note thing. But that's what I hear going on. During that part as well, there is still a lead part that I really like to do. But if I'm the only electric, I'm going to probably stick to those chords, depending on the vibe we're going for. So we're going to do it. I think it sounds kind of country. It's a little bend. I really like it. Maybe neck pickup. So if you notice there, I'm kind of scooting all the way down the neck. For me, that difference of a bend to a slide, sliding down feels a lot better than. I prefer that slide down. So we're gonna bend on the B string from the 7th up to the 8th, back down to the 5th fret on the B string. So 7th up to 8, down to 5, down to 3. To the 4th fret on the G string. 2nd fret on the G string. Open it up, and then come to the 4th fret on the D string. So here it is again. Next, we're going to this trills thing. Droff likes to do this a lot. There's other instances that he does this. Another reason why we really like having the dotted 16th delay. Again, sounds like maybe he's actually got it double tapped to give him that. But we use that. I cannot really get those trills. The trills would need to be more like. I can't do that quite as well. I don't know. I got muscle in my hand does not let me have that much freedom all the time. And instead of trying to hope it works, use what the good Lord gave you. He gave you a Helix to give you dotted 16th note delays. So first, I will show you exactly what it is we're playing, and then we'll put all the effects on so you can hear it. 17th fret down to 15th down to 14th. Down to 15th on the B string, up to the 17th fret, down to the 15th. So 14th, 14th up to 15, and then 14th on the G string. He plays it a little different, but the gist right here is this. Again, we're going to make use of our dotted 16th note delay and the dotted 8th delay, which would be the equivalent to like dotted 8th and quarter note. So here's that sound. Here's just like how it sounds with the trails and all. And we're using a big verb. So I'm going to go to the bridge pickup and I'm going to hit 16th notes as best I can. So as we come out of that, kind of like the tag building in to the next bridge, you hear that he just stops on that D note on the 15th fret and bends it. It's a pretty big bend, getting you from that D all the way to that E. So he's doing a bend that's going to go from the 15th fret to the 17th. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can just hold that D and then just kind of hammer on. I don't think that sounds as good. So I like to grab that right there and just hold it into a slow bend going into the next chorus like this. And then we're back into playing the chorus bit. So for effects, same thing as we did for the first chorus. We just added more drive. We think that it needs it there. There's a lot more energy going on. It sounds really good. We decided to use the dotted 16th note delay just to kind of give it more energy and pep as well. Because when you use an 8th note delay, it's sitting on exactly every note you play. The dotted 16th note is putting things in between the spaces because of that dottedness. And it gives it a lot more energy. It makes it a little more full, and it makes it, busy is not the right word, but it just makes it sound more intricate. How's that? Sounds more fancy. Anyways, you play through that chorus, it drops out. It's a tag of the chorus with just piano. I would say if you and your team are looking for a way to transition from that song in like your ending service or whatever, you may not want to drop out for that tag. You may want your full band to play that tag. That's not really the reason why we do these videos, to tell you how to have a great worship service. But if you're wondering why it feels weird to end your service with this song, it may be because of that quiet tag. So try doing a big tag, or try just not doing the tag and ending big right there, whatever. But we also have a swells button. You always need a swells button on a Worship Tutorials Helix patch. They sound huge. Brian's over here basking in the glory.
Those are the Lord's swells.
The Lord's, there's a little bit of shimmer on there too, that's which we feel like we hear Droff doing pretty often. But I went and I used the swells at the end for that tag just to kind of not drop it out completely. But that's it. The song's really simple. You got the turns, you got a chorus thing, and the bridge is slightly different with those sixths, or those kind of stripped back chords, right? And then that one other lead part. There's not a lot to it, and that's the best kind of thing. It sounds great, but that's it. That's all you need to know to play King of Kings by Hillsong. It's a great song. We're actually utilizing it at our church this year for Christmas. Of course, it can be used any time of year, but maybe that's why you're here, because you're learning it for Christmas. But either way, we hope it's helpful, hope it's beneficial to you. Resources that we have, any other units we have this patch available for, are going to be in the description as well. And the link to see the playthrough is also in the description. So thanks for joining us. We hope to see you next time. Bye.